Hey, it's Edge Radio here. Time for a little show that we like to call, I'm going to give it to the man. Come on, promote your own show.
Righto, it's Jeff Bowman from Wealth by Design, young Aaron.
He was so slick. I love the way you did that, mate. You really, it's almost like you've done this before.
Ah, yes. Absolutely consummate professional.
I was thinking so as well. And I'll tell you right now, let's be honest, okay? Radio is my thing, okay? Talking to the little black stick is my thing. You've taken it on very, very well. Now, I haven't taken on your world as well. I don't know the finance industry like you do. So this is why we've got you on here, so I can pick your brains.
Yeah, it's lovely to be here.
Yeah, that's
a great subject.
It is. Now, today we're going to be talking about a subject that, look, I think it's on the tip of a lot of people's lips here. Right? Really, it's tip of the tongue. Let's talk about blockchain, mate. What is it? And you know, with the blockchain, would you actually just, I'll, as I say, give you the keys, mate. Just could fill this in as a novice who's walking in, doesn't really know the game. Mm-hmm. Tell me about it. What's different about it? And all this Web3 stuff, all of that.
Okay, righto. Well, I'm going to give you a sort of a bush rundown. Then I'm going to actually read you something formal, which I grabbed earlier, so I can read it for the tech people that have got a very acute ear for this. Okay. But it's a progression in technology,
right?
And it's often good to talk in terms of comparison. So, what is Web 2 and what is Web 3? Well, an example of Web 2 could be Google.
Okay.
Right. So we all know Google.
We certainly do.
It's a platform. You get information from it, and it's a fabulous resource center. The next level up in technology is actually referred to as blockchain.
Yeah.
And blockchain is just an extension of efficiency, speed, cost for transferring information, getting access to information.
Right.
Yeah. So, in fact, probably a great opportunity for me to put my glasses on.
I'll do that. And I always forget that little
and give you a little official, an official sort of Google all this, is all public knowledge. So I said, righto. So blockchain platform technology is a decentralized solution to tracking, documenting, and facilitating transactions.
Okay.
Right. These tools create a public ledger relying on globally distributed historical transactions to prevent tampering and fraud.
Right.
Now, we've actually spoken about dodgy dealings on the internet.
We have.
Cyber security, cyber insecurity, the villains that operate in this space.
And there are quite a few.
A lot of villains. And so if you can have a system that's tamper-proof, it's a very good thing.
Now, I always hear the term blockchain and I think about crypto. Okay, that's the association.
Mm-hmm.
But what I've learned, and very little that I have learned about this, though, it's so much more. Like what you just said, tamper-proof. That's a biggie.
It's a biggie.
Yeah, when it comes to, let's face it, say, look, documents or contracts, right? An agreement between two people or more than that, for that matter. If it can't be tampered with, that is just a brilliant thing. It's there, it's public, it's transparent.
It's transparent,
line, right?
And it can't be fiddled with. And you've got examples of people going to court, and they turn up with what they believe is the right information because it's come from the state treasury department or something, right? But when they get to court with their information, and the other guys, the opposition, come with their information, it's funnily different, and it could only be tampered with. And so where you've got elements of inherent corruption at every level, and it's enough to be annoying and it's enough to be wrong at every level. This is the sort of thing that will help reduce that significantly because the data is accurate. So I'll just push on a little bit here. I'm nearly done.
Okay.
So each transaction is documented in a database that relies on each previous time-stamped transaction to verify and execute an exchange. So it's cleverly bulletproof. And so blockchain technology was first utilized for financial transactions, but can be applied to a variety of industries such as e-commerce, supply chain management, data integration. The The self-sustaining database can be used by businesses for documenting exchanges and eliminating fraudulent transactions. These software solutions provide the framework to create applications that rely on any kind of transaction. So to qualify for inclusion in a blockchain category, a product must create a live distributed transactional database, one, create user identification labels for active parties, and verify each transaction on an active ledger for approval, and more importantly, freeze any transaction that cannot be verified. So there's a very fast verification process for all of this, and it's the way of the world. It's being pushed big time with all the big companies out of New York because they want faster, accurate transactions.
Sure.
In the money world, but it's happening in contractual law and right through the whole scope.
Can it be done with a will?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Wills will become smart contracts.
Sure.
The legal fraternity will be running most of their documentation and advice on blockchain eventually.
Okay.
And once that will is set up as a small contract, it will not be able to be fiddled with.
That's why I asked, because I've actually experienced it myself with a will that I was a beneficiary of that was fiddled with.
There you go.
Okay. To great detriment to myself and my family. I'm not the only one. I've actually met several people in my life who have gone through this. So whenever I see anything that creates transparency, that actually takes away the chance of fraud, this is a very, very big positive to me. So I'm almost surprised it's taken this long for the tech to actually become more widely available. As I say, we've seen it with financial stuff, with particularly with the great thing that we've seen with crypto. But to see, look, I can see deeds being involved with houses, with your car contract, whatever. Like, it can't be fiddled with.
Yes, and be mindful, of course. This is another classic case where technology is moving faster than, and regulation, and faster than traditional businesses can adopt, because there will be plenty of roadblocks here.
Sure.
The technology is great to solve exact that problem, but will it make inroads into sort of depleting the level of charges, say, that a law firm could produce, an impact on their bottom line?
Okay.
And so all very well for the customer to get this fabulous bulletproof will, if you like, in what would be deemed as a smart contract. But will the $3,000 fee now technically should it be $300? So
of course,
and so therefore, oh dear, is that a good reason for pushback from the producers of those documents?
From the lawyers, there's no doubt about that. Lawyers definitely don't want to see their income going down. Now, look, that's a really interesting point you brought, because I always try to look at any situation and go, okay, like when people exploit this, okay, what are the long-term benefits and negatives? Because people will exploit it in the negative and the positive, right?
Yes.
So you've got to look 5 steps, 10 steps ahead.
Yes.
So that's a really important way of looking, because I hadn't even thought about it. That didn't even, well, to be frank, saving lawyers money never crosses my mind. But perhaps, like if these things could be handled on the blockchain, you could probably even cut out the middleman in so many cases.
Well, we see this is right. This is happening right across the board. So robotics are replacing a lot of people in the workforce. And this is sort of, if you like, another advancement in technology that could replace people in different professions.
Sure.
Or reduce the number of people required to affect the charge out rates.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be a great place to watch and monitor over time.
It really is. Now, questions coming in. I think Lisa for a comment here. What are the environmental impacts of blockchain technologies, especially with energy-intensive processes like mining? That's a full-on question. Nice.
That's a ripper question, Lisa. Right, well done.
I'm glad I'm sitting down for that one.
And over to you, Aaron.
Exactly. I don't know where to start on that one. I mean, that is very interesting, isn't it?
Well, I think, yeah.
Go on. Yeah.
Well, I think environmental impacts. Well, I think it probably gets caught up in the whole speed at which technology is moving.
Mm-hmm.
If you look in terms of pollution,
sure.
Plastics pollution is a major area.
Okay.
Would blockchain technology help improve the conversion of soft plastics into their original hydrocarbons, being crude oil?
Okay.
That as a technology that is available and does happen, but it's very hard to make it economical.
That's the thing.
Mainly because the cost of energy for recycling is so high, and it buggers up the economics.
Okay, so if you took a lot of the paperwork out of it, you took a lot of the lawyers out of it, for argument's sake, that kind of process, are you going to bring the cost down and maybe make that recycling more economical?
Every chance. I would think that's sort of had a little bit of exposure to that industry, and Lisa, that's a very, very good question, and it's got the potential to have an impact on all sorts of industries, including environment and recycling.
Okay. No, always welcome the questions. If you've got any other questions, please bring them in, because I think it's great to be interactive like this. That is something I had not even remotely considered. Yeah. Great question there. All right. With, the blockchain, as I say, I keep thinking automatically my mind goes straight to crypto. Well, I've been speaking to a couple of people lately that are finding it's made its way into the real estate world as well.
Yes.
So what are the advantages to that?
Okay, great example. Great question. So you have tokenization of assets, which is converting a real asset like gold, silver, platinum, property, shares, into a token which is traded, bought and sold on a blockchain with your appropriate smart contract to confirm the transaction, the fees.
That's kind of where I was leaning.
Yeah. And so that links in the next piece of the pie, which is the tokenization of real world assets. Because if you think in terms of the old T+2, you go up to your financial advisor, he says, righto, you want, Rio Tinto shares, you want to buy 10 grand's worth. We'll put the order in today and we'll take you 10 grand. And check back in 2 days' time, and you'll see the 10 grand gone out of your cash account, and you'll have your $10,000 worth of Rio Tinto shares.
Yes.
Trade +2, T+2. It's been around forever. So if those Rio Tinto shares are tokenized, which will happen, everything's the wheels are in motion now.
Instantaneous, isn't it? Really,
the Rio Tinto shares will be traded not on a standard stock exchange. They will be traded on a blockchain exchange. And so you put your 10 grand in, and it would be if you're buying them with Aussie dollars, it would be a tokenized Aussie dollar, so a crypto Aussie dollar,
right?
Backed 1-to-1 by the Reserve Bank, so it's all legit.
Yep.
And then you would then buy your $10,000 worth of Rio shares with your $10,000 of crypto Australian dollars.
Okay.
Right. And then on that digital. That's a tokenized share.
Sure.
And as soon as you spend your money, you bought your share. So you could refresh your screen and you go, 10 grand's gone. I've got $10,000 worth of Rio shares. So
that quick.
It's instant. So the fastest money transfer, like analog platform, if you like, up and down to about 3 or 4 months ago, was Visa card.
Yeah.
50,000 transactions a second. And but now you've got like Solana is about the 5th multi-billion-dollar market cap crypto coin, Solana. But its financial transactions are up to about 75,000 transactions per second. And so they can just handle massive volumes of transactions. But each of those 75,000 transactions is matched with a smart contract, which is like an A4 printable document. Like, it's amazing.
It is absolutely amazing. And another question's come up, and I'm going to sort of jump back and forward a little bit on this one. I just want to talk about quickly as far as the change in the tech here. Right now, technology has come a long way. Just every single day, it's just another bit of tech pops up. But we were talking about in the financial world. I remember, I'm old enough to remember. In fact, I was even involved. In fact, I've even done this myself physically. back in the day when the stock exchange worked with chalking, right? Okay, there were
Mm-hmm.
chalkies.
Yep.
Okay, where they'd run around with a piece of chalk and they would literally write the prices as they were being screamed out from the trading floor. Okay, with traders who were on phones getting instructions from brokers, who were getting instructions from clients, and it was through that process.
Yep.
Perth was very advanced. We didn't have chalking; we had a whiteboard. I mean, we were high tech down there, right down the terrace house. Exchange House back in the day.
Yeah.
So I've actually lived that, and it's quite a frenetic and just the energy was off the charts.
Yes.
Now that's great and all, but all those different hands that it's going through and the yelling and all of that kind of thing, it's not a terribly accurate way of doing business. Let's be honest, right? No. Apart from not being accurate, because mistakes can be made, you can miss opportunities, you can be misheard. Your client might say something, you interpret it incorrectly. All of that. Now, with all the acceleration of tech and obviously the internet, which I'm talking way before the internet here was available to you and I, the technology moves so well that those mistakes can disappear now because it's being done. The transitions are so fast. The information is so accurate. It's it's different between typing out a letter and good old cut and paste, right?
Yeah.
It's very, very quick. So, I mean, the tech has just changed the whole world. And I think that, you've got to obviously be tentative, but at the same time, embrace it, like really embrace it because you can get so many opportunities with it. And why I sort of relate this is another question from Lisa. I thank you very much for this. When I was a child, I had money. I had a money box to learn to save. Now, can children have a crypto account? And the reason why I'm talking about my past as a child, because I'm talking about when I was 15 years old, very much a child, that this whole concept of being able to get into crypto or get into the stock market always seems such a distant thing. Now it is something that kids probably need to learn at a very early age.
Totally. This was actually brought up with a client the other day because, as you know, we have a crypto platform that we promote on the Wealth by Design Exchange or website basically. Sure. And the answer at this stage is no because. But it's a qualified no. There would be exchanges, Lisa, that children could sign up for where they don't need to be verified. In other words, they don't need to disclose their driver's license, their address, and their ID. Now, they could actually invest money on a platform, but you wouldn't recommend it because they don't have any custody associated with them. Okay. So there is no protection for those kids' savings. The platform that we promote is a platform that is fully insured and would be safe, but you do have to be 18.
Okay.
And so, but I think it will come because even in our planning days, you could set up savings accounts where the parents could be custodians for their children's, so that you can encourage the children to log on, see their money as they're saving up from their paper round or whatever.
Yep.
And I think it's just a feature that needs to be added onto some of these modern exchanges for this very, very reason. And we are pushing for it as we speak.
Oh, I think it's a very positive thing. I think that if children can get a financial education early, they're not going to make as many mistakes as we tend to have when we haven't had the education. Let's face it, you go in blind, you make all kinds of errors,
Yes.
This is a very, very good thing to do. And, the physical money box, we know how hard it is to get cash these days. If you're giving your kids, cash for, their pocket money, I don't even know if they can spend it anymore. It's getting a bit tricky. So, anything that can encourage it. And also, as I say, with the smart contracts and the safety and what you offer to the insurance, that is magnificent.
I think
that's a big thing.
It's a good thing. Custody is a big thing. And we now know that this platform that we promote has a custodian that's an Australian-based custodian called Zodia.
Sure.
Zodia. But they're actually owned jointly by three large institutions.
Okay.
One, the National Bank of Australia.
Right.
Well known. The other, Standard Chartered Bank out of London.
Right.
And Mobcot SIG, who are a massive Japanese financial organisation. They've got about 25,000 employees in Japan. So those three companies actually own Zodia.
Right.
And Zodia is the new custody provider Well, the platform that we promote,
Yeah.
Which is fabulous because there's constant sort of credibility blocks being put in place because it gets away from, oh my God, isn't this a scam, to, oh, hang on a minute. The NAB are investing in a custodian for an Australian platform that's got a head office in Sydney where it was fully insured. So there's the building blocks.
You're adding credibility. And when the big players get involved, and when they sort of the companies have been around a very long time, when they get involved, it does make you feel safer. And I completely understand.
Yeah. And one of the assets on this platform called Chainlink, it actually they just done a joint venture with the ANZ Bank. Right. Chainlink is a fabulous technology that helps. Well, they're software companies, a lot of these cryptos. That's where a lot of people get confused. Right. They're software businesses that have got a genuine use case. And how would the NAB use this technology to interact between fiat paper currency, Aussie dollars, and any other dollars that are transacting with all the tourists and travellers, with crypto, because people need to exchange crypto with Aussie dollars and Aussie dollars with crypto. So all Chainlink is a technology platform, which is a multi-billion-dollar company. I can imagine it would be. That the ANZ have just decided to do a joint venture with their technology merging. So it basically means that ANZ don't need to develop the technology themselves.
Well, that's right. Yeah, they're saving a lot of development costs. There's no doubt.
Totally.
Yeah. It's a smart play. I know that, look, there's places right now where this side kind of story, but like in Perth, where you can literally use your crypto to purchase things like Perth Heat, right? Literally, if you go to watch the baseball, you can purchase your hot dog with crypto.
Yes. Yeah.
And this is all because of that kind of tech.
Yes. Well, it's blockchain, right?
Yeah, it's blockchain. So the blockchain linking together, I assume it's with Chainlink, I don't know, but with NAB, with ANZ, these sorts of things. So people can go up there and be purchasing, get your hot dog and your chips and your drinks, and away you go.
Well, as you know, I travelled to Tanzania a few years ago and with a few mates and climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. And then
living life, my friend.
And then yes, I had to train for that. And I wasn't carrying as much condition in those days as I am now. But the once again, it's blockchain technology because we had there's only 5 of us in the climbers, but we had actually about 35 in the team because they carried everything up. We're a bit sport. We had we had all the tents and bedding and food and toilets, the whole 9 yards. But my particular porter, lovely chap, hardworking, and he knew he'd followed the AFL and was quite interested with a few of the Dockers players he knew who were African kids, and anyway, I've kept in contact with all these guys through Facebook, and I put one of them through university in Nairobi, just a bit of a philanthropic contribution, just to
nice thing to do.
And nice. Yeah, it was very satisfying. A little bit of our money goes a long way over there.
Yeah, of course.
And so Chris, this kid's earnings capacity by about 40% as soon as he got his mountain climbing qualifications to take tourists and doing safaris. He got 2. But anyway, what's important is that I picked up recently that they've got Bitcoin on their phones, right? On average, about $25 Aussie.
Right.
They save up. It's about that in value.
Okay.
Because they're earning, these guys are earning around about $10 US a day.
Okay.
Working 14-hour days. Right. So once again,
inconceivable to us, isn't it?
Yeah. But these guys will go and use Bitcoin to buy pineapples at the local farmers markets.
Yeah.
Okay.
Crazy.
Yeah. So the decentralization or the democratization of the monetary system via blockchain and crypto is quite an extraordinary thing how it's unfolding, because those guys now are playing at an even playing field. They can own Bitcoin like you and I can.
Exact same point.
Yeah.
And that is such an important thing because, let's face it, different countries, different economies, different standard of living, but also values of money. But when you get into this system, it's a truly international system.
Yes.
And I mean, I'm not FA with the whole box and dice of how the market works, but I watch the US dollar, which everybody used to use as a bit of a standard, the old petrodollar.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen that. We've watched that get manipulated so much over how many years?
Well, since Bretton Woods, really.
Yeah.
After the Second World War.
Spot on. Exactly right. Well, literally, the end of World War II was pretty much the beginning of the petrodollar being the all-controlling sort of factor of the earth. Now, different billionaires and different families and different governments have used different methods to sort of play around with that, with inflation and all of it. The US dollar, with the amount that was printed over the last few years with no backing whatsoever. So a lot can be done to really screw with the value of it. And when we're talking about crypto, it's a very interesting thing because it's both an investment, it's a currency, it's also a product that's traded. There's a lot going on there, but it tends to be, from the outside looking in, far harder to manipulate. Am I right on that?
Well, I think it's becoming almost not mainstream, but it's getting up there. I mean, if you look at Bitcoin, that is such a clever technology, and you would hope that maybe quantum computers can't interfere with it. They believe it can't. I listened to a guy called Michael Saylor, who's got a company called MicroStrategy in the States.
Yep. Very highly thought of. That
highly thought of guy. His market cap in Bitcoin with MicroStrategy is about 15 billion in Bitcoin. Pretty serious.
Slightly.
And he's got a science background and a computer science background and electronics background. He's been asked the question publicly. He doesn't think the quantum computer areas will interfere with it, which is fabulous. So therefore, it's the antithesis of quantitative easing, really, because there's 21 million Bitcoin will ever only be produced.
That's right.
The last few will be produced between now and 2045. There's about 4 million of the Bitcoins lost because just thumb drives and people just lose their keys. But that's a finite number, and money printing is not.
That's right.
Because once a year, the Yanks have to move the ledger, right?
They do.
Otherwise, none of the public servants or the army or anyone gets paid.
That's right.
And so yeah, that's all a fascinating world.
Yeah.
That's going on there. And a lot of people go, well, Bitcoin is a flight to safety.
It's
funnily enough.
Look, it's pains me to say this, because to ever agree with my friend Travis Carter, but I think he's right on the fact that it's almost like, in some ways, Bitcoin and crypto itself is becoming the new cash.
Yes.
It's the way you can have transactions without all the interference, all of the, as you used to do with physical cash.
I had a fellow in the office yesterday. He said, so I pulled up a coinmarketcap.com, which is like the Morningstar of the crypto industry. And he said, Bitcoin's 65,000. I said, yeah, that's US. That's about 102,000 Aussie. He said, I've got to have 102,000 to buy a Bitcoin. I said, no, it goes to 8 zeros. He said, what does that mean? I said, well, if you wanted to buy $50 of Bitcoin, it would be like 0.000836 or something like that. He said, oh, really? So I can buy $50? Yeah, absolutely. So how to do that? So I showed him. So it's just bridging the knowledge gap again, Aaron.
Education, full stop.
Yeah.
Right? And the way that you hook people up with the right people to get the right information and the right knowledge, it is brilliant, mate. Because if you don't know, you don't know, right?
You don't know.
And that is a great example, because, I would have thought before I knew anything about it, I would think, oh yeah, look, I've got to find 65,000 US to find myself a Bitcoin, and I'm not sure, but I've checked these couches, can't find 102 grand. It's not there.
It's just,
there.
I get it. Another great example of the blockchain is what's happening and unfolding in the crowdfunding industry.
Yeah. Now, we've talked about this a little bit in the past. Please go into this, because I think there's just so much scope here to do things that are great for business and the economy, but also the greater good of Earth, quite frankly, of causes that need some help.
Yeah, so a little tip would be a little website called thegecko.org. Global Crowd Crowdfunding Alliance.
Okay, and it's .org, is it? Okay.
.org, yeah. So Equity, the GECA, Global Equity Crowdfunding Alliance. That's it. Okay. GECA, .org, and it's clever what's going on there. The alliance is driven by the investors of a business called DaxiChain.
Okay.
.com, and Daxi is DACXI.com.
Is the crypto associated with that?
Yeah, so it's a new blockchain.
Okay.
It's called a layer 2. So it sits on the Ethereum blockchain, which is the second largest crypto company under Bitcoin. And so what they're doing is clever as hell. They're going, righto, equity crowdfunding, this is as opposed to a crowdfunding that wants to raise some cash because your brother's, been done for drugs in Bali and he's completely innocent and we're going to raise 10 grand to get him out of the country. We'll provide his legal fees.
Prison's full of really, there's a lot of innocent people in prison. We know that.
So not that type of crowdfunding, it's equity crowdfunding, e-crowdfunding. And that's where like Birchall is an Australian equity crowdfunder. They've raised about BERCHEL. They've raised about 240 million in Australia the last 4 years. But the ones in America and Europe are big operators. Okay. But they still are localized, right? So like the LA crowdfunding company, and there'll be plenty of them, but say we get the main one. It's got its own local investors in LA and it's got its own local inventors in LA that want to raise money via equity crowdfunding for their new invention, right? They've developed some magnificent new replacement for gold fillings or something. Okay. Right? And they might have already spent all the money they can get from their family, friends and fools, as they say. The first lot of money to back their house on it. They've banked their house, and now they need another $2 or $3 million to develop it further. So they go to an equity crowdfunder, and if they're in LA, that's where they'll go. But of course, there's a limit to the number of investors. So the DaxiChain platform is a beauty because what they're going to do is going to link up all the main crowdfunding companies who are already authorised and legalised in their own countries and jurisdictions, because there's all rules around regulations around raising money from the public, of course, and rightly so. And so these are different businesses. Instead of just being localised, raising money from local investors for local inventions, they can now go onto this platform and go, right, well, we've got this fantastic new, dental product. Yep. We want to tap into investors in Perth or Brazil or London or Moscow, right? And open an open blockchain platform which expands their web of access to future investors. Okay. So they'll raise all the money faster, but it'll be in smaller amounts. Sure. Because it might be $500 a hit. Yep. Oh yeah, I like that idea. I'll put in 500.
And we like to contribute to these sorts of things. Yeah. Look, I know there's been so many inventions over so many years that haven't actually made it to production because they just can't get the money together, right? And we could look at it. I mean, there's been how many different versions of hydrogen cars, literally cars that run off water, that they haven't been able to get to the actual public long term. They can build a prototype. They can't go further than that because they can't get any money. I mean, that's just one example. There's billion out there. Yeah. Right. Now, these are things that could really make the world a much better place, right? And apart from the fact that it could be very successful for you. So to be able to crowdfund that way and for everyone to feel like they're a piece of something too, I think it's got a lot going for it.
Yeah. So DaxiChain is not a crowdfunding company. It's simply a software and IT company providing the platform for the crowdfunding industry to operate on a broad scale. And it's clever because all of a sudden you are taking it from a local cottage industry or local approved in their local governments and jurisdiction industry to a global industry, and you provide the blockchain provides that.
Yeah, and you're no longer like a small town person, right?
Yeah.
Like you've got the whole world is your oyster.
Yes, and so the investors in Perth might want to tap the inventor in Perth for something else. Might want to tap into the investors in LA. So it's two-way, right?
Of course it is.
It's just not operating in your local turf. And
I like that, really.
that's quite exciting. Another example of blockchain technology. Yeah.
Yeah, I do see that, and I do thank Lisa as well for you've been fantastic. Always so helpful here.
Oh, look at that. She's put it
popping up some links there. Yeah. So I'll pop up another one for you as well. They're the two subjects we've just been talking about. Yeah, go to the link, have a bit of a look. Yeah. Look, there you go. That's fantastic. Hey, completely, off what we're talking about. Something I do want to ask you though, has because funny enough, someone's been asking me a lot about. In fact, two people, don't know why, but have asked me about electric cars in the last couple of weeks. Right? Okay, no problem. But about the novated leases about them.
Yes,
right?
Yeah.
So I'm strictly so against electric cars. It's not funny. That's because I'm a ref head. Okay, and therefore,
get it.
I just want to just pretend they don't exist. But there's certainly a case for them. So with that, I was basically being asked about these novated leases and the fact that because a couple of people have spoken to are self-employed.
Yes.
So they have to set themselves up. Please clarify if I'm right on this one, or with the person who can help me though. Okay. So if you're self-employed, do you have to put yourself up as an employee? Is that how
yes, you do.
works? Okay.
Yeah. So novated lease for a private person, not a company.
Sure.
So they're not business vehicles; they're private vehicles.
Yep.
And to salary package a vehicle which is a novated lease, you can only access through salary packaging through your payroll.
Yeah.
You must be an employee.
Okay.
And so you can have your own company and be an employee and in receipt of pay slips from your own company.
Sure.
And you may be the only employee of your own company.
Okay.
But as long as you do that and I've got 3 pay slips, I can set the novated lease up for you.
Fantastic.
Because you're now an employee of a corporation.
Okay. And the other question that went with that was they were very excited about the fact of there seems to be more concessions for these leases for electric vehicles. What are they?
Very significant. So basically, this is fresh in my memory. A BYD, build your dream electric car is the competitor really at the lower price range to Tesla.
Sure.
And it's a great Chinese car.
Well, so is a Tesla.
And the Tesla's
great China as well.
Yes, exactly. But the technology is Elon Musk, an American.
Sure.
And that's the point. Although they're made in China, the technology is American and it's Elon Musk. BYD is a Chinese guy who was an electronics wizard.
Right.
Back in 1995. And he is the inventor of the BYD motor car company.
Did he build it on Windows 95? Come on. Did he get all those little on the screen?
Well, yeah. Well, he actually, unlike that's a very good point, very well researched. He actually decided not to have it like Tesla, which is in-house tech. He decided to make it Android for all the electronics and the radio and so forth. So when you look at the screen in a BYD, it's like your phone.
Yeah, okay.
And it's all app driven.
Right.
Yeah. And so it's closest I can comparison would be the old Windows and Apple.
Sure.
Apple closed circuit like.
That's right.
Apple only way to go is the Apple way. Well, here it's Android with the BYD. But this one was about 56 grand. And the total annual cost, I think, was about $18,000 a year for finance and a budget for all of the running costs, which are insurance, tyres, brake pads, windscreen wipers. That's about it with electric cars. And so think in terms of your gross taxable salary is $117,000.
Okay.
You pay tax on that. What you can do with novated leasing is go, right, I'm going to take that 17 grand off the top of my salary and commit that to the entire car through payroll off to a salary packaging company that are the businesses that I work with. And then you're only taxed on 100,000.
Sure.
So you're not being taxed on the top 17,000.
Well, just in rough terms, I mean, you've saved yourself about $5,500 just there anyway.
There. So it's a 100% tax deduction, and depending on your tax rate, will depend on whether you've saved. Yeah, and in that situation, you've saved 5, 6, 7, 8,000. But the other thing is that you don't have to finance the GST when you do a novated lease. So on the $56,000 car, there's 5,600 of GST.
Yep.
That means your actual finance contract is for 49 grand.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's another real bonus. So in the first year, they'll have
with a petrol powered car, it's based on the GST as well.
No. On all novated leasing, you don't finance the GST when you purchase it.
Okay.
You only pay GST on the residual payout figure.
Okay.
So you pay it on the reduced, devalued, so depreciated value of the vehicle.
Okay.
You don't pay it on the purchase price.
Okay, so it would be wise not to. I mean, this is my. I certainly, this is not financial advice by yourself or me, but I'm curious on this. If you left a big balloon payment, you'd be paying tax on that. Is that correct?
Yeah, you're paying GST on the balloon payment. So, and the ATO set the rules for the balloon payments on novated leasing, and so if they took out a 3-year lease on a $50,000 car, the residual payout figure is probably about 19, 20 grand.
Okay.
And so built into that 20 grand will be 10% GST.
Right. Okay.
Right. So
they've already considered that.
It's already built into it.
Thank you to KTV on that one. Apparently she's been asking about novated car leases. So they're very
So the bottom line is, if that full electric vehicle is 100% tax deductible.
Yep.
As long as it's under the FBT threshold, which is at about 93,000.
Okay.
And so it fits most of the electric cars. Unless if you go high end and it's $120,000 BM, no luck.
Yeah.
You just get your normal novated lease for that.
Okay.
Which is like half and half deductible, half not through payroll. But if it's under, say, 93 grand, full electric and plug-in hybrid, they get treated the same way.
Okay.
They're 100% tax deductible. So incredibly generous tax concessions for employees.
Well, they're certainly pushing them forward as well. And I understand. Oh, this is interesting because we've been talking about the blockchain and the fact that the transparency and so forth. Funny the way my mind works, but okay, Tesla had actually left open source on their contracts.
Yes.
For that battery technology and the way that system works, which means that same tech you actually find in other brands. So
yes, that was a unique thing that Elon Musk did. He said, look, guys, you don't need to steal it. It's here for free.
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly not an Apple idea or business plan, that's for sure. Interesting essay. I look as just because I'm a redhead, I am completely against electric cars, but I can see the value of them. Certainly, like if you're in the middle of a city and short commutes and keeping the pollution down, I can see some benefits there. I really can.
They sneak up on you too. You can't hear them coming.
Exactly right. I like a bit of exhaust noise. Let's be absolutely honest. But different folks, different strokes rather for different folks, right? And, the world is it's a fantastic tapestry of people who think differently and want different things. So if people want, hey,
how good is that? I think Elon Musk is right. He said, look, we've got all the energy in the world. It's called the sun. You've just got to work out a way, to trap it and store it. And of course, all the battery technology is arguably anti-environment because you can't recycle it.
That's right.
But hopefully technology will get to a point where that gets solved.
Well,
and we're not doing 5 times, the global footprint or the carbon footprint to produce an electric car than a normal car. So your RevHead cars are like 20% of the damage to the environment, right?
Yep.
Than an electric car. We know that.
You do.
Same with these bloody windmills that are roaming around.
Well, I fall for that one. They're turbines.
So turbines, I
always say that. Of the same school on that one.
Yeah, but I'm still back on the farm calling them windmills.
That's right. But look, here's the thing. Being, this is a show. It's very much about people, grabbing hold of their wealth. All right, okay, and creating a better future for yourself. But it's many facets to it. If you didn't have a free market economy, if you didn't have this style of economy, you wouldn't be chasing better technology. Right? Because you wouldn't need it. We can see what the USSR was up to for a very long time. Very old tech. The same model this, the same model that for 30, 40 years. The free market economy is a very positive thing, right? Okay, because it does, you improve your technology, you improve your lifestyle, and it also brings a lot of people out of poverty.
Yep.
We see the changes in the world over the last few years of just how many people have been brought up out of that. So, I think it's a very positive thing to look at your finances and look at your future and look at what you're building for your kids. And with the novated lease, for argument's sake, I mean, look, a penny saved is a penny earned, the old saying, right?
Totally.
And if you've got a novated lease and you're saving $5,000, $7,000, $8,000 of taxation, well, it's just like making $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, whatever $1,000 more.
It's true. Like that BYD example, right? Yep. In 4 years, there's over $40,000 of a $54,000 car back in tax rebates.
Yeah.
Wow. Like, it costs the taxpayer $4 billion a year to do this. And so that window is still open for full electric cars up until 1 July 2027.
Okay.
And it will probably close for the plug-in hybrids 1 July next year, 2025.
Okay.
And so you do need to get onto it if you're interested in picking up some savings, because you're absolutely right, Aaron. Wealth creation is about a combination of saving money and having your assets increase at a greater rate than the inflation rate.
That's right.
And if you're leaving your run a bit late to build up your assets so that you do have a comfortable retirement, at least getting the same money you're getting now, because your lifestyle doesn't change just because you stop work, right? You still got a house to run, a car to run, kids to look after, and they might have left, but they've still got your money.
Hand out, yeah.
And so that whole thing won't change much. So from about 60 to 75, you're spending the same amount of money. And a frightening statistic came out recently, and that was a government one that basically said that the average Australian will retire on about 70 grand a year. Okay. Here's the proviso. One, that you've got a minimum of $690,000 in super.
Right.
And two, you line up for the old age pension
on top,
because half of that 70 grand is the old age pension.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so they're really saying that most Australians have been crap at building up their retirement assets because it's only enough to supply a retirement income of around 35 grand. And you need the top up from the pension to get the other 35 grand.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, and remember that, super was brought into the market while we're talking about probably in the late 80s. It was sort of became quite prolific. It was very much a Keating sort of plan.
Yes.
And whatever you think about his, economic policies, it's here nor there. I mean, the reality is no matter what, we had an aging population, and we've got to think about these things. We've got to think about the government person. You've got to think about the fact of quality of life you want to have. No good if you, are completely dependent on the pension and you're living, those years of your life you could be enjoying.
Yes.
Those golden years, if you like. You want to be out there having some fun with it, or at least enjoying it, or at least be comfortable. Yeah. Now, you certainly couldn't if you were just waiting for the government money.
Too right.
The government money, I always say this, make this very clear. Government money is not a government payout or anything. It's taxpayers' money. You've invested that in through your own investment, through paying taxes through your life. Make no mistake. But at the same time, you can't have that comfort of lifestyle. You can't have that security if you can run straight off the pension.
Totally. And with the government, this current government's running out of money, let's face it. And so why would you want to rely on the government for that extra 35 grand?
No. The government's fine. I don't know if you noticed, Albanese just purchased a nice new house for $4.3 million. So he's fine.
He's fine.
He's fine. The rest of us, we're all suffering. But as long as he's got that beautiful cliff to look over there and look into the sunset.
I know the hypocrisy of it all.
Look, I actually don't begrudge a man who works hard, woman who works hard, and they build themselves a fantastic future. He's been the Prime Minister of this country, and therefore, that should come with certain perks and a good lifestyle. It's just, let's be absolutely frank, he's done a terrible job.
Yes.
So if he was a CEO of a company, you'd give him the flick, and I hope that's what people do next May. But he's done such a terrible job. He does not deserve the money that's coming his way, and the lifestyle is going that way.
No doubt about it. Yeah, it's a fraudulent at best.
At best. I think you're being very kind. All right, mate. We've hit the end of the show. It has been fantastic to have you here. As always, now I've got some more questions come through. We'll deal with those next week if we may.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much for being part of Wealth.
Thank you for your kind invitation once again. It's always great
mate,
to
always a pleasure, mate.
catch up.
Thank you for everything you bring Edge Radio Australia too, I might add, because behind the scenes, mate, it's just fantastic to be associated with you.
Thank you. Likewise.
Yeah, well, I think future's so bright, you've got to wear shades. Edge Radio Australia, Wealth by Design.
Thank you.